Okay, we'll call the meeting to order now. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Police Advisory Committee meeting. Calling this meeting to order. Now, for those that couldn't make it in person, I'd like to say that you can still join us. There's time, through Zoom. You will find your webinar ID on the front page of the minutes on the agenda on your Salinas website. So maybe next time you can try and be with us through that or in person. Thank you. Okay, we'll have a roll call. Marta? I'm sorry, yes. Pledge of Allegiance, I'm sorry. Yes. Whoa. Pledge the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you. Okay. Today we have a new member, Joey Alvarado. Welcome to our committee meeting. Okay, now roll call.
Yes. Committee Member Virueta? Present. Committee Member Camacho? Committee Member Miller? Committee Member Gasca?
Present.
Committee Member Hayes? Committee Member Alvarado?
Here.
Chair de la Rosa?
Here I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now go to general public comments. In this part, we usually give 2 minutes. I can, if it needs to be extended longer, it depends on the agenda, but we will start with 2 minutes.
Hi, Peter Zalai. I want to preface my comments with my support of our police chief and police department. I am in favor of additional resources for public safety and recognize police staffing levels are probably at least 40 officers below what's minimally needed. I have a question regarding how staffing resources are being allocated within the department. At last night's meeting, the City Council received the mid-year budget report, part of which explained additional staffing requests for various departments. The police department is requesting a deputy chief of police, an evidence technician, and a community outreach assistant. In previous reports to the Oversight Committee, on which I serve, Measure G funds several police positions. About a quarter are sworn officers. I understand that education and community outreach help prevent criminal conduct, and I'm sure the police department as a whole is understaffed. But I wonder if the balance needs to be looked at between sworn and non-sworn police positions, the balance between police activities support personnel and those positions the public would ordinarily think of when they think of the police, the men and women in patrol vehicles and on motorcycles, the ones on patrol, enforcing traffic laws and responding to calls for service. Shouldn't we be adding more sworn positions? We're told that at any given moment, there are only about 8 officers on the beat, patrolling, enforcing, responding. Since the Council voted to put the renewal of Measure G on the ballot this November, an absolutely critical, failure is not an option, tax measure, I think it would go a long way if the public saw an increase in patrols and enforcement in these next few months before the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No. Anybody on Zoom, Martha?
No comments via Zoom.
Nobody on Zoom. Okay, thank you. We will continue. Consent agenda, approve the minutes of February 25, 2026.
So we have motion from Committee Member Virueta and seconded by Committee Member Gasca. Okay, I'll move for the vote. Committee Member Birrera?
Aye.
Committee Member Camacho? Committee Member Miller? Committee Member Gasca?
Yes.
Committee Member Hayes? Committee Member Alvarado?
Yes.
Chair De La Rosa?
Here.
Motion passes.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments from committee members on the previous, before the previous meeting minutes? None? None? Okay, we are now open for public comments on this item. No? No problem. None? Any questions from committee? Comments? Any comments from committee? None? Okay. Okay, can I get a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm back. Okay, so now we are moving on to presentations. Wait, I'm falling behind here. Sorry. Okay, we will receive a presentation from Vision Salinas 2040 General Plan Update. Wow.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for allowing me to come and speak to you all tonight. My name is Jonathan Moore. I'm a senior planner with the Community Development Department. I've been working with Salinas for Salinas for about 9 years. And what we're here to talk about tonight is our general plan update. So we've been working on a comprehensive update to our general plan, which is the city's guiding policy document since 2021. And we released a first public review draft in December. Since this is the city's guiding long-range policy document, it covers on so many topic areas, including public safety. So we've actually been going to all the various boards and commissions and committees in the city to give an introduction to the plan, a little more information on that. This is our 6th presentation in that series. So tonight I'll give an overview of the draft plan itself, how we've kind of gotten there, and how that relates to this committee's work. Perfect. All right. So, as mentioned, the general plan is a document required for cities and counties by state law. I think we first had our first general plan in 1960, and this is our first comprehensive update of all components of the plan since 2002. So this reflects a lot of the changes in state law since that time, changes in the community, and this effort also includes the first climate action plan and environmental justice element, which was one of the new pieces required by SB 1000. I mentioned we released this first public review draft in December. We've been doing an outreach on this plan, or this document since. It's available on the city's website. You can send comments to myself, or we have a specific comment address for it. We don't have a set comment deadline just yet because we're still working on several pieces, including revising the economic development element chapter, the draft climate action plan. And once kind of all those pieces are out, we'll collect comment, do some revisions, and then re-release the draft with the environmental impact report, which is another required document that kind of covers all these documents. And the general plan is really rooted in this core value of creating an inclusive, diverse, and welcoming city where all persons can thrive, and 8 guiding principles, including a healthy and safe community. And these were developed back in 2017 in the original Vision Salinas effort, which was done in conjunction with multiple community planning processes happening at that time, including the Allistown Vibrancy Plan, the Parks and Rec Libraries Master Plan, and others. And really, this general plan update is kind of the culmination of over a decade of local planning efforts. Most recent new element for the general plan was economic development, which was adopted in 2017, accepted as a is a strategic planning document back in 2014. And it was kind of intended as a bedrock for a new general plan update. And so we really have policies from that document woven throughout all the elements of the plan. There's also the downtown vibrancy plan and those other plans like the AVP, Parks and Rec Master Plan, Chinatown Revitalization Plan. And we've done a lot more sense that this general plan item all pulls from and uplifts priorities from. Community engagement has been important in this effort from the very beginning. We've mentioned this, it's been a long process, starting in 2021, but we've done over 20 workshops. We've done topic-specific working groups. We've done various pop-ups and gone to different events. We've done surveys. We've done a lot of different efforts to reach out to the community throughout this process. And it also, as I mentioned, builds on those other plans, which had some of which had award-winning engagement efforts of their own. So it's built on these plans. It's really been a process of working with the community to come up with. So we're excited to finally have it here. And as far as what's actually in the document, what this thing is made up of, it's really a collection of maps, policies, actions, and it's implemented through a combination of changes to the city's municipal ordinances, through development review of things that come into our permit center, through various projects and programs like the ones the police do or the fire department does. So it's still a document, so it really needs these various programs and efforts to be implemented. It doesn't just do everything by itself. Yeah, it is a collaborative process and really does touch on so many aspects of the city's operations. Changes in this general plan from the last one include, as I mentioned, a lot of updating and modernization in line with state law. We've reorganized it, as I'll talk about in a moment. We have a new land use system to be more flexible and meet the needs of our current state and our future. And really, whenever we've been doing public engagement, some of the most important things we hear about are things that are most important to people are housing and safety. So we've organized this into three, we're calling pillars. One focused on the built environment, your land use, transportation, your housing element. Housing was actually updated separately in 2023 to meet with its own state requirements. Environment and sustainability, conservation and environmental safety element, which deals a lot of the natural dangers, earthquakes, flooding, etc., open space. And where we find public safety is in the socioeconomic systems pillar, alongside other elements such as health, environmental justice, economic development, and arts, culture, and youth. Not all of these things are necessarily required by the state, but I think that the inclusion of all these topics makes for a more enriching, full document that addresses the community's needs in response to what we've heard from the public. Again, I wanted to thank the police department and our chief and our staff, including Tonya, for helping us review our public safety element before this draft went out. So the public safety element has three goals, the first of which is actually the current first goal in our current safety element, which is to continue to play a central role in the creation and maintenance of a community that resolves this problem in nonviolent ways. It's really about continuing the great work of CASP, Community Alliance for Safety and Peace, continuing proactive engagement and relationship building with the community. The police does things like National Night Out or the police outreach team, working with regional partners to formalize things like the Mobile Crisis Unit. Goal number 2, provide effective and responsive police and fire services to ensure a safe and vibrant community is it's all about ensuring that police and fire have the resources they need to have the most manpower they need, the most equipment, the facilities, so they can continue to provide the best services they can to our community. So improving those facilities and also making sure that our staff has training, health support, all the things they need to do to better do their jobs. And the third goal kind of ties public safety back into the built environment, creating a safe community through the use of design techniques for existing spaces and for new developments, such as continuing to use crime prevention through environmental design techniques in development review. This is about making sure the projects we see in the facilities and new buildings that get built are safe and encourage safety through their design, not just through the provision of police services. About creating welcoming, safe community spaces, making sure those are programmed, supporting our neighborhoods, and improving things like lighting and other infrastructure. So right now we are really hoping to adopt this general plan by the end of the year, which means we're continuing engagement in the spring. As I mentioned, once we have all parts of the general plan and related documents released and gone through a first round of review, I'll come back and when we release a draft EIR, that starts a formal 45-day comment period. And really, a lot of the year we'll be working through comments we get on that. And it will go through a formal approval process through Planning Commission, through City Council. So this is not something that's going to be coming and just adopted overnight. There's still a lot of runway for community comment and involvement. But we are hoping to, as we said, we started this in 2021. We want to get this done so we can start using the policies and stuff in there to improve Salinas. So with that, thank you, and I'll turn it over to you all for questions.
I do. How you doing? Thank you for your presentation. It was very informative. I just have a quick couple of questions. When you were mentioning that you guys had done outreach to the public, 24 workshops, 8 working groups, how was the public notified about these workshops, and where were those workshops held at?
Sure. It's a combination of a lot of things. So email blast to our, I think something like over 8,000 contacts in the city's mailing lists, which we continue to try to grow through these events. Various social media posts. Always try to outreach through our networks, through sharing through boards and committees, and also our, just the groups we work with. Try to get there, which to bring people. And they've been held all over the city. So, for example, we started this process with a series of land use workshops and listening sessions in each of the districts. So we had one in each district, and then we had a overall one. We had many meetings on the east side in the firehouse. We'll do stuff in Sherwood, and stuff in other community centers. And we've also, the pop-ups at all sorts of community events, whether that's Ciclovia or another movie night in the park or something. So we try to bring as many things as possible around the community to raise awareness as best we can.
And out of curiosity, and you don't have to quote me an exact number here, how many people from the public participated in those workshops and in those that gathering?
In the workshops themselves, it depends. We do get some people who come to multiple, hundreds cumulatively.
Okay.
Our best events have pulled in 90 to over 100 people, and then sometimes you have events that are
Right.
not as successful.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And just a quick question, this is on your website,
Correct.
and we could share this out as well?
I'm sorry?
And this is something that could be shared?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I went to the first, it was then called City of Salinas General Plan, and it was in 2014. So I went to that one. When was the name changed? Because when I see Vision Salinas, for some reason, I just think it's LSL. I don't know, that's just something that comes to mind. When was that name changed is one of my questions. And also you mentioned you had 8 working groups. Mm-hmm. and you had 18 steering committees. How were those people chosen to be on this committee, on this Vision Salinas?
Sure.
And I still have more, but.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you can continue.
It's because I'm very interested in this. That's why I went to that one. And I had just moved to Salinas when I went to the first one that they did. And they did it out there in Sherwood area, one of the schools down there. But I
Sure.
never heard that it was changed. Like I said, whenever I hear vision, I don't know, I just put it together with ciclovia. And I don't know, maybe that's just my mindset, the way I'm programmed, I don't know. But I'd like to join this if possible, and who would I contact to join? And the working committee and the steering committee, what's the difference? Is the working committee bring the information to the steering committee? The information that they gather or ideas from the community, or how does that work?
Sure, I'll try to, if I remember correctly, go from the top. So if you attended an event in 2014, that would have been on the economic development element. So that was just on that element. And then in 2017, the city started the Visio and Salinas process, and that started as not only a way to develop the guiding principles for the eventual general plan update, but it was also kind of organizing these multiple projects that were going on at the same time, the House of Vibrancy Plan, Parks Plan, Chinatown Plan, Big Sur Land Trust was doing the Carter Lake planning process in the time. So it was trying to put all that under an umbrella. So when we started the general plan update in 2021, we added the 2040 to it, Visio Salinas 2040, as a way to say this is the general plan itself. So the 2002 document was just called the 2002 Salinas General Plan. 2014, you said the economic development, which was just an additional element to that general plan. And then 2017 is when the city started using the Visio and Salinas process. As far as the steering committee and working groups for this project have kind of wrapped up their work. They were really active in 2021 to 2023. The working group meetings were more on specific topics by element. So we had them by each of those three pillars. So there's one for the built environment, one for conservation, environmental safety, or the natural environment, and one for socioeconomic systems. And the steering committee was kind of the group that guided the overall process. And it was selected representative of each council member had each council member had a representative that they chose to sit on it, and then the other spots were filled in by various organizations, other agencies, and other groups around the city to try to get kind of a wide swath of representation of folks. But a lot of it was, so each city council member, the mayor had an appointee, and then you had folks chosen from different agencies or business groups, things like that.
Yeah, the one that I went to in 2014, they were talking about expressways and bringing together Salinas and possibly Hollister, and there was a lot of plans back then. I've never heard of them anymore. I mean, they were kind of just went underground, and I'd like to know, see some of this, maybe a booklet that you might have, just to review it, because this interests me very much. And also, if you have a list of those names of the people that are in the working group and the steering committee, if you could possibly give us a copy of that would be very beneficial to me. I don't know about to the rest of the group, but I'm sure they'd like to know who in their district is one of our leaders that is in the steering committee or the work groups.
And especially the steering committee was a city committee. It wasn't an official branch committee, but it's a committee, and the minutes and things like that are on the city's registrar site. And as with this committee, the cover sheets of those agendas do list the members of this. So.
All right.
And just to be clear, those are no longer active committees or
Correct.
working groups. Okay, thank you.
You done? You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
You know, one of the things that, you know, I cruise around town and talk to many people, and I've always asked my question, why is it that people don't participate? Okay? Maybe a few that participate, okay? And I've been asking, and one of the problems or one of the issues is people don't really understand, you know, what you guys are talking about, because they don't, you come in and present a plan, a case, or whatever, you do it in a high level, not in the level where they can understand, okay? So therefore, if they don't understand, they say, forget it. I mean, what's the use of, okay? So maybe you guys can work on something, kind of lower your education to the level that you're talking to, so they can understand. Yeah, I think that'll help a lot. You know, back in the year 2013, I remember, I think it was 2013, we started having what's that? Neighborhood watch groups. Everybody in the different districts and all the districts. And at that time, I remember Lorenzo police. They used to go and really talk to people at their level, and they really understood. And I don't know if you can kind of look back, communities, I don't know if you can make a study, what it would look like then to the way it looks now. Today, it's a mess. It's a mess in Salinas, okay? I mean, really, I mean, why? Because that's part of the problem. So we need to kind of think on that and do something about it. Maybe by bringing neighborhood watch groups back again, National Night Out, you know, different districts, you know, in their own districts. I mean, that'll kind of cheer up the people. Thank you.
Can I just add a little bit more? I just kind of feel a bit left out because, you know, everything that I see, like I said, I think it's Alisal, that area, Ciclovia, Vision Salinas, and a lot of people in where I live are the same way. How can we make it so it's more inviting and people take interest on what this is, because this is very important. I mean, it's our future development, and, you know, we want to know. I started even on Nextdoor back in 2014, 2040 general plan, and I only entered comments that were from that meeting, and I never entered them again. I never heard of this again. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. I don't know, but it just seems to divide. I know we're the minority, but I just seem divided from the groups in Salinas, and that's why I want to know who is from our representative in my District 6, who is the key person that we speak to. Mm-hmm. Not counting Aurelio, of course, because he's our council member, but who's actually in the group and how much he's heard about it, because I'm sure he hears about it in the meetings when he gets updated. But I can say none of my neighbors, and they're very active, but they don't attend these meetings because, like I said, maybe I'm just the only one that feels that way, but it feels very divided, that it's always La Alisal, and it's never the entire Salinas, and we should be one group. I mean, I'd like it to be one group, but it's not. I don't feel it's that way. So I'll look at the website to see the names of the people.
Thank you.
And thank you for your presentation.
Any public comments on this? None? All right. Then no action. We will have a second presentation.
So there was no comments via Zoom, and yeah, we can move on to our second presentation.
Zoom. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
The microphones are very echoey, aren't they? Do you think? It's not a good sound system.
which is scary. Good evening. My name is Tanya Erickson. I'm the Police Service Administrator for the Police Department. And I am very happy to be here to give you a presentation on our community engagement and youth services programs that we have at the Police Department. Start off with giving a little bit of history and what we do. So you may have heard the term SPOT. It stands for the Salinas Police Outreach Team, and that is the team that coordinates all community engagement and youth service programming through the Police Department. SPOT was initially funded through a grant, California Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant, that was given to the city in 2022. But as of January 1st, 2026, it is now fully funded and permanent part of the Police Department. To give you a little history there, the grant originally, some of you may remember or seen in the past, we gave a presentation about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Originally, when the grant was applied for, the thought was that we would have 2 sworn officers who were serving a function, one for community outreach, one to focus on youth diversion. With the challenges that we've had in hiring sworn staffing, we've made some great progress recently, but it's historically a challenge. The police department has made a very intentional move towards utilizing civilian or professional staff whenever possible. We identified this as a primary opportunity to be able to have professional staff do the legwork, the administration, the coordination, so that then we could utilize that very valuable sworn staffing time to actually go out and do the engagements. And so that's what we have done. So let's talk a little bit about the core team members of that. So right in the center there, you'll see a picture that is Yanine Velasquez. She is our administrative analyst. It is Luis Martinez is with her. He is our full-time community outreach assistant. They're really the heart of this program and the face of this program. They do the bulk of the work. We also have Andrew Carrillo, who is a part-time community outreach assistant. He's actually in the picture with the motorcycle. He's actually the first cadet next to the officer there. He actually aged out, turned 21, aged out of our cadet program, and we hired him part-time to do community engagement work with our youth. We also have Officer Raul Rosales, who is the officer there in the photo with the motorcycle. We have Officer Alejandro Rodriguez, who is in the other photo with the children. They both are officers assigned to the SPOT group on a collateral basis, which means that they work with us in addition to all of their other duties that they have as patrol officers and as Raul is a traffic officer. They also do work with us with our community engagement and our youth services and our diversion program. So a little bit about what we do. Let's first talk about the community engagement component. One of the large things we do is school presentations. So just some of the photos here, most of them here are career days. We also go and do presentations on drugs, gang awareness, things like that. Whatever the schools request us to come in, we look, we evaluate, we see is this something that fits within what we're trying to do. We want any presentation or any work that we do with a school to be positive. We're trying to build relationships through our youth. We do sometimes get requests for other kind of presentations, which we generally don't. If it's not positive in nature, we are really trying to build relationships and not be seen as the scary entity there as a punishment. This is about building relations, promoting community policing. So we do a lot of work with our schools. Right now is career fair season, so we are bombarded with requests, which is great. We love getting out there and doing that. We also do community presentations. So we do a range of community presentations. We have a community presentation tomorrow night with a community group where we have a self-awareness. We do it in schools. We also do it here where it's talking about personal safety and what can you do? How can you have situational awareness? What can you do to make sure that you're being a safe member of the community? We also, in partnership with Neighborhood Services, we also do Neighborhood Watch presentations. Neighborhood Services, if you're aware, they are a group that are focused on trying to strengthen communities, strengthen neighborhoods. And so they are the ones who actually lead the Neighborhood Watch program. We come in as a guest speaker to talk about how do you start it, what can we do. The impetus is to have the neighborhood lead that and build that, and then we'll come in and check in when invited about specific topics. So we do community presentations all the time. I mentioned we'd have one tomorrow night. We also do community activities and events. So here's just a couple of them that you'll see on the left side of the slide. You'll see a couple photos from our National Night Out that we had. We had our National Night Out. We had about 2,000 people there last August. We will have it again this year, the first August of every year, first Tuesday of every August each year. The top right is Photos with Santa. You probably saw some of our publicity when we did Photos with Santa. We went around to 4 different locations throughout the city, and we had over 1,800 children and parents participate and take photos, have photos taken with Santa. We also do, the other 2 photos are, we have our Coffee with a Cop or Cops and Conversations. Coffee with a Cop is when it's Starbucks, Cops and Conversations any other location. And then we also do community events all the time. That's a photo from our Amor Salinas Earth Day festival. So a little bit about our statistics. So as I said, we got a grant in 2022. It took us a year to get up, to restructure, to get the positions created and hire someone. Yanine was hired on July 31st of 2023. And that's when we first started keeping track of statistics. So to be clear, 2023, we likely had much more than the 23 events that are listed. But before that, nobody was tracking it, nobody was coordinating it, nobody was doing the logistics. We just had great officers who were on their own when requested, going out and giving presentations. But now we had a team to help support them in doing that. So in 2023, we had 23 different events with 3,033 interactions. I want to clarify interactions. We're really careful whenever we go to an event to count the interactions as those actual interactions that we expect that we had with folks. So for example, the air show, which can have tens of thousands of people, we generally count about 800 to 1,000 because we're really wanting how many people did we actually interact with and have engagement with. So we try to be really sincere in the numbers that we report as our interactions. So in 2024, we had 102 events and 19,165 interactions. And last year, ending December 31st, we ended with 115 events and over 25,000 interactions with community members. So something we're really proud of. We really look forward to continuing to do that. I mentioned earlier kind of our core team. We have a part-time community outreach assistant. We have requested another full-time community outreach assistant to be able to help with that because we really are just at capacity. We just don't have enough bodies to be able to fulfill the requests right now. So now going from our community engagement to our youth service program. So we have a couple of different components to our youth service program. The first is that we do youth and family support. As I talk about the youth programs, no, these are all internal. This one in particular, these are all internal referrals. What we do is whenever a police officer identifies a youth or a family that could benefit from some support, they can make a referral to our team, and our team will follow up with that family, explain to them that we got a referral from the police officer. We're just trying to see if there's anything we can do to help them. Are there any referrals that they could use, any resources that we can help them connect to? Is there anything we can do from that perspective? Can we support them in any other individualized way? I mentioned earlier Luis Martinez, who is really our core to that. He actually graduates in May with his master's in social work. He has many years experience doing a variety of counseling and support case management services. He was an incredible find for the police department to have. He really has established some big shoes to fill when he graduates and goes off and practices in the community. But sometimes when he calls them, they just need someone to listen, to validate the parent or the grandparent that we're talking to, that they're doing the right thing, that they're already got referrals in, they're waiting for services to happen. They're just amazed and appreciative of the fact that someone from the police department follows up, calls them, and offers them some services and asking what we can do outside of an enforcement or other activity that may have resulted in the initial contact. So something we're really proud of. We also have our youth diversion program. So our youth diversion program is an opportunity for first-time offenders with qualifying offense. These are misdemeanor, generally misdemeanor offenses and generally low-level offenses. Our most common offenses are battery and shoplifting are the 2 most common that we get right now. What we do is when a youth is cited under 18, that comes, we review those, we look to see if they're eligible. Are they a first-time offender? Is it a qualifying offense? Yanine, who's our administrative analyst, reaches out to the family and says, hey, we have a diversion program. Are you interested in participating? If they are, then what happens is they get assigned to the diversion team, which is our community outreach assistant, Luis, which I've mentioned, and one of our collateral officers, either Officer Rosales or Officer Rodriguez. And what they do is they work together and develop an individualized diversion plan. So after doing a conversation with the youth, conversation with the family, what are the needs? Is there something that led to the offense that they're doing. What can we do to help strengthen the family? What kind of resources can we give the youth? So they really develop an individualized plan. That plan is for 3 months. They have to complete all of those items within 3 months. There can be, by exception, extensions. If they successfully complete their diversion plan within that time frame, then what happens is their case is sealed and that offense never gets forwarded to the court. So it actually lives within the Salinas Police Department, and if they successfully graduate from diversion, that doesn't go anywhere. It's sealed. So a little bit about our statistics in our youth diversion. This took us longer to get up and going. People found out about the outreach really fast. The diversion, we had to really put the policies, procedures, and processes in place. Make sure that we were doing something, that we were not unintentionally duplicating efforts or missing something. So we did not launch our diversion program until January of 2025, so just over a year ago. In the first year, or since that time, we've actually had 35 youth qualified for the diversion program and were offered services. So the diversion is a voluntary program, so not all youth are interested. Sometimes the parents aren't interested. We can't force them. This is just, here's a benefit, here's something we would like to do for you. But 35 youth were offered the opportunity. In the end, in 2025, 15 youth successfully completed the youth diversion program. They graduated, and their record was sealed. And as of December 31st, there were 4 remaining. There's some additional ones now, but that we're pretty proud of in the first 12 months, actually less than 12 months, that we had 15 youth that graduated from that program. And we see the difference it makes. One of the things that many of our youth do at the end is write a reflection paper where they talk about the impact that this has had on their life. And there's not much more impactful than reading some of those letters from those youth. So another component of our youth services that we offer is our youth cadet program. That's actually been in existence at the Salinas Police Department since the 1960s. But with the creation of the SPOT group, we were able to actually really resource that. Prior to that, it existed since the 60s due to the incredible dedication of officers who kept it going, and still exists because of the dedication of the officers. It was nice to be able to put resources towards that and have some administrative support, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of logistics and planning involved in running a youth program. We have eligibility for 35 youth in our diversion program. Well, I don't know if I can say today, but as of right now, there are 24 active youth. There are 14 girls and 10 boys that are currently active in our youth program, have all been with us at least a year, some several years. As I said, we can accept 35. Overachievers that we are, we just invited 12 to join, so we'll be at 36. And so at this point, we sent out invitations last week. They have until Friday to accept, and all but one of those 12 have already accepted. And we'll start with us on April 7th, which is our next youth cadet meeting. So we're pretty proud of what the youth do. Here are just a couple of photos that we have here. One of the things the youth have an opportunity to do every year is go to an academy. The Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office holds a 3-week youth cadet academy in which there are participants from other police departments throughout the region. So we had 7 of them go, 6 of them, 7 of them last year? How many? 7? I'm like, we're like counting. It's chairs. We've done it twice now. And it is a 3-week long program in which the youth are at the police department between 5 and 5:30 every morning. It's Monday through Friday for 3 weeks. They're not home. The earliest they're back to the PD is 6 o'clock at night. Sometimes they're not back till 9, 10 o'clock at night because they're doing scenarios or training, often have homework, and are back there at 5 o'clock the next morning to go again. And so these are some dedicated youth putting this together. It's a great experience for them. We actually had one of our youth this year who got the Female Physical Fitness Award for the entire academy, and so she'll be recognized. The middle picture is talking, we did the San Andreas Regional Center Superhero event. That happens once a year. We've done that twice now. We did some child ID kits and fingerprinting for the families there. And then our youth also, the point of the youth program is it's meant to be a youth and a leadership program. If you want to be a police officer, that's great. If you don't want to be a police officer, that's okay. We want to teach you about the police, have a better understanding of the police, build a relationship, understand law enforcement, understand the systems, and just whatever it takes for these youth to develop and ultimately long-term be a good, productive member of their communities. And so we're really proud of that. We're really proud to see where our cadets have gone over the years. This is one where they've helped at our DUI checkpoints. It's one of the things that the kids really enjoy getting to go out there. I think I have a photo in here, I may not. One of our favorite photos is one of our youth helping write one of the citations. And so they get to go ride-alongs with the officers. They get trainings on everything from penal codes to the radio to what is a crime scene, how do we process a crime scene. So they get a real understanding of what happens. So here's some more of our photos, our cadets at the rodeo. The top right is we did our first ever youth cadet recognition ceremony in March of last year. We're actually getting ready to do it again in April. So we're really proud to be able to honor all of the cadets that we have. There's one of ours, National Night Out. I think the middle one in the bottom is Dia del Nino. And then the bottom right is an event that we did. And on the left, you'll see Andrew Carrillo, who's our part-time community outreach assistant as well. So incredibly proud of the work that our youth cadets do. To give you an idea, in 2025, I don't have the exact number, but they donated over 3,400 hours they dedicated towards youth cadet activity, and over 1,400 of those hours were direct service to the community. So that was going to Dia del Nino, that was going to the Sark Superhero event. It was out there interacting with the community and doing some really great service. So that is an overview of our program. So here is the main contact information for our SPOT team. So that is the phone number. It actually rings to all members of the SPOT team. And then an email if anyone ever has any questions. And I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you, thank you. Any committee members, questions?
Yeah, I do. You mentioned that in January, the funding was turned over to the city of Salinas. What's the funding amount that you're getting?
I don't know. And I should know that, I'm the budget person. So in reality, what we did is the city funded the staff. So the staff, when they were hired as part of the grant, were limited term with it to term at the end of the grant. And so what happened is that through last year's budget cycle, we got them added as permanent ongoing funded positions by the city. So right now with all of the services that are in there, I would say it's probably about, well, I don't know the officers, it's probably about $300,000 a year, somewhere in that range. Then I'm talking just the core components that we do, materials, supplies, things like that. We also have officer overtime that is associated because, as you can imagine, many of these events, in order to attend to them, it requires overtime of our officers. We can't pull our officers off the streets. If we're ever at a point that we can, we'll certainly have them stop by whenever they can. We'll do that often if we have a community meeting or we have an education presentation. But it has to be on an overtime basis to make sure that we're not compromising the safety of the streets and the core crew that is out on patrol.
And for the cadets, what is it, so when they sign up to be a cadet, do they get the uniform? What else?
So what I would say is a couple of things about the cadet program. We're refining the process as we go along. I think we've got it pretty locked in. There's a lot of structure that we put there. So we have a cadet advisory board that makes sure that we oversee everything that we've done for the cadet program is to try to ensure that there is a consistency and a value both to the department and to the cadets who donate so much of their time. And one of the things we did when we revitalized it is we said that these are youth volunteers who are making substantial commitments to their community. So there is no cost. That's actually a pretty significant cost. We make sure that they don't have to pay for anything. Prior to that they would sometimes have to pay for their own uniforms or components of their uniforms. We make sure that if they're coming here, that we provide them everything that they need. And that we give them snacks and things like that so they never have to worry for their evening meetings whether or not they're hungry. We've got food and we've got things available. We work really hard to take care of our cadets. Through that refinement, what we've done now is we're at the point that we are only opening it for new cadets at one time a year. And the reason why is because it's really difficult throughout the year to just incorporate a new person every single meeting, which is what we did when we were revitalizing it. But for the last 2 years, we just have one time a year. We open it. One of the things we're going to change this year is we're going to create an interest card so that anyone throughout the year can fill out an interest card. We'll keep track of it so that when we do open it up, we'll contact them and say, it's now open. You have an opportunity to apply. So first of all, they have to apply. We did 3 information sessions. Attendance of the information sessions was mandatory. We had 63 youth, I believe, that came to the information sessions. We received 34 applications, and we accepted 12. So we screen the applications. It's a pretty long application. They have to kind of tell us about themselves, write a letter, write a little essay about why they want to be a youth cadet. And then every single person who made it past the application screening, which you did as long as you turned in a complete application and nothing was missing, we interviewed 28 youth to select those 12. So we give them a mini job interview. We ask them questions. Tell us about yourself. Why are you interested in this? We give them a couple of scenarios, and that ultimately led to the 12. What I will say is that we get asked a lot is what's like a perfect cadet, and there is no perfect cadet because we take very seriously the need to ensure that we have a well-rounded group. And knowing that we only open it once a year, we want to have it staggered such that there's always going to be openings. So the youth cadet program is from the age of 14 and they age out on their 21st birthday. And so we work really hard to make sure that we have a mix of boys and girls, we have a mix of ages, because ultimately having that diversity is going to ensure that they all learn and grow and learn to work together as a team best. So it's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do to try to make sure that we are being equitable and representative in those that choose.
Are you hoping, or is the goal to have a pipeline for people, cadets to be interested in joining?
Absolutely, and I think we actually have officers that were cadets. Many of our mentors we used to be the Explorers, and now we're chartered under the Public Safety Cadets organization. But we do have quite a few of our mentors actually were Explorers back in their youth. Andrew, who I mentioned, was a cadet for 6 years. We hired him as a community outreach assistant to help us with the work while he finished college. He graduates next month, or in May as well, with his bachelor's degree, and he's going through the application process right now to be a police officer. So we certainly love that opportunity, but there has been an intentionality in us not excluding cadets to only those who want to be police officers. We ultimately see this as a youth program, and while if you want to be a police officer, that's great. We want to give you an opportunity to learn, to experience, and many of our cadets do want to be police officers. We have many cadets who don't know what they want to be, but they want to know and they want to serve their community, and we're certainly happy to have them as well.
One last one, the Santa Clara Academy. Is there transport that?
We do all of it.
Yeah,
So
early
the
in the
first
morning?
year, we transported them, we fed them. We did all that. We had to cut it down the second year because the logistics of that got really crazy. So they have to pack a lunch. That's their only requirement. They meet at the police department. We transport them up. We transport them home. We provide all of their academy gear and uniforms, and we support them through that, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then I will say also with the Cadet Academy, we also participate in the academy. So some of our teams, so our SWAT team generally does the teaching day there. Our drone team does the teaching day there. So our staff are very involved as well in doing that. So.
I believe most of my questions were already asked. You do have an advisory board. What is that? Who is that?
Who is that? So myself as one of them. You don't see my name on there. I'm honored to actually get to help oversee that program. It actually is under my umbrella. But I'm not the one who's boots on the ground doing the work that this team is. It's myself. It is actually Miss Martha Guizar, who's one of our most dedicated advisors. It is Yanine Velasquez as well. It is Sergeant Gabby Contreras, who is our Special Operations Sergeant. She is the sergeant who signs off on the time card and reviews the sworn side of that. We also have Commander Jerry Magana, who does an incredible amount of community engagement and youth services and was a former Explorer himself. We also have Commander Gabe Garcia, who is also on the Cadet Advisory Board. So we try to make sure that we have a good representation. And so we help review educational materials. We do all of that to try to make sure that there's a good picture there. I do want to say the cadet mentors, I didn't talk about that. We have 16 or 18 mentors right now, and they are both sworn officers and also civilian staff. Because I think one of them is we want the youth to have exposure to both and to understand that policing is not just sworn officers. There's others. this is an opportunity for you to explore what it is. So Martha is an incredible, she's one of our most dedicated mentors. I serve as a mentor. We have a volunteer, Kevin Lowe, who we recognized last year at our cadet recognition. He's been a volunteer for 10 years now, donated thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. He's one of our cadet mentors. So we have a really robust and diversified cadet mentor group.
So what is the youngest age that they would start to attend?
14. And we have some 14-year-olds.
And is there a start date? You have like the school season that starts, ends in June?
It's a year-round program. So it's a year-round program. So the cadet program is year-round. We generally cancel meetings. We just canceled this week's meeting because it's spring break for most of our youth. And so we generally don't meet spring break. We generally don't meet around the holidays. So late December, early January, we try to give them a break then. But beyond that, they meet every 2 weeks throughout the year for 2 hours from 6 to 8 p.m. every other Tuesday. They're a dedicated group, but it's 14 up to the 21st birthday. It's a great program. And the youth, I think one of the other questions we often get asked is, what's the commitment? And certainly we would love our cadets to stay with us as long as they want. I mentioned Andrew earlier. He was with us for 6 years. We have some cadets that stay for a year, some that stay for 2 years, some that stay for 4 years. We understand that they're youth and their life is evolving. They're figuring out what's going on. They may want to do something else, get a job, play sports. So we do have some cadets that come in and out, but there's no minimum expected participation. But most of them stay at least a year, but usually several years.
So when they start, whenever they sign up, they can come in anytime?
Oh.
And they can come in anytime, since it's open 24 hours, when they join or they're accepted.
Okay.
How do they adapt to some that know more, or are they just mentors to the younger ones coming in, or how does that work?
So a couple things. We only open it now once a year. So we have all new cadets start at the same time. So in this case, April 7th, the whole new cadet crew will join. They don't have 24/7 access to our police department. All of our cadets have gone through a basic background, not the extent that staff in the police department do, because staff in the police department have unescorted access within the police department. But they do go through a minor background process. And then, but they are still escorted within the facility. So a little bit different. They can't just come whenever they want. They come when we have our meetings.
Okay.
We're trying to explore other opportunities, like during the summer, there are going to be some other opportunities that we can do some more interesting things with the youth. But they come on, the first group is going to start. So we actually just had a cadet advisory board meeting this afternoon, kind of planning that out. The first session, really, who is the Salinas Police Department? What are we? How are we structured? What do we do? Let's take you on a tour of our facility. Let you see our firing range. Let you see our crime lab. Let you see what the Salinas Police Department is. And then we'll build from there. But they can do everything from practicing high-risk stops. And last week they did person searches. What is the law behind when the police can search someone, how to do it, and then they got to do some practice on their own. So we try to give them a variety of what police work is.
Great presentation, but is there anything for seniors in there? All I hear in Salinas is our youth, our youth, our youth. Are we just getting rid of the seniors?
No, I think that
They
what I
are
will
our
say,
future,
we
but,
do
we're still
programming
alive.
for seniors. We certainly do programming. If we're ever requested to do a community meeting, we have certainly gone to senior communities, or we've gone to just groups and associations, just like we would do Neighborhood Watch.
Okay.
We may have a group, and we've had actually a couple of them that are just a group of like-minded individuals, whether that be faith-based, whether that be interest-based. We're going to go and talk to you and give you a presentation if that's what you're interested in. I think that one of the things on the topic that you mentioned, we used to do something called a community academy. And we really want to bring that back. We really had plans to bring that back, but we're just at capacity right now. As you can imagine, all of the stuff I talked about is done by 2 full-time people, plus the time they can squeeze out of myself and a part-time person who comes. So there's just a capacity, which is why we've asked for an additional person to help us be able to maintain and hopefully expand.
So do you take volunteers to possibly learn and also help
So that's
with
on
the
our
children?
list. So we do
Okay.
have one volunteer. So right now we have one volunteer, which is Kevin Lowe, and he's been with us for so long. So again, as I talk about our desire to expand, I would say 2 of our biggest priorities are the community academy, and we'd like to do an adult and a separate youth community academy that's just probably, we're talking like 6 to 8 weeks, 2 hours. Come learn about it, and over the course of this time, we'll explain to you about the Salinas Police Department, how we work, and what you could do as part of the community to share. We want to do that for youth, and the other thing is to actually strengthen our volunteer program. We know that there are folks that are interested in volunteering. Again, unfortunately, it's a capacity issue because you have to be able to have the staff that can oversee, who can support, who can monitor, who can do all of those things. And we, unfortunately, right now just don't have the capacity.
Thank you very much.
You're very
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, I have just one question, just so I can understand better. Now, this program, is it geared up just for kids that are not troublemakers and they want to be cadets, or is it open for any?
Anyone can apply.
Anyone.
I will say that for our cadet program, there's 2 major requirements. You have to have at least a 2.0 GPA. We're probably going to raise that to 2.5. Ultimately, schooling is important for the youth. So if you're in school, it's really important that you maintain your grades and that we not be a competition to you maintaining your grades. The other is that you can't have active involvement with law enforcement. And so we do a very basic records check on the youth cadets, and then they do go through a minor background process. If they were actively involved in any criminal activity or too closely related, they probably would not pass background. Just because of the involvement, they're allowed in. We teach them some of our policies, our procedures. We teach them a little more than we would do in a general community academy. We want them to see a real experience of what Salinas Police Department does.
Right.
So, but it does not have to be. I will tell you, we have had diversion students, some of our diversion who have asked about being a cadet. And one of the things I didn't say is that with the diversion, even though once they've graduated, Luis stays in contact with them. He still checks in with them every 3 to 4 months. How are you doing? How's it going? And stays in contact with them. Well, let's just get stable. Let's get your grades up. Let's make sure you're there. And we're certainly happy to entertain you applying to join the cadet program. Right. So we've worked really hard to be as inclusive as we can reasonably be.
Because I think, let's say myself, I would really like to hear, we have these troublemakers, we got them here, and now they're, good shape, and wow, what a.
Yeah.
We
hope to
like
do
hear
that. So that's our diversion program. Yeah. And so we do track stats. So once we've been at this for a while, we track them. Like I said, we stay in contact with them every 3 to 4 months. We're not mandated by policy that we created. You must check in with them at least every 6 months. We found that we do it much more frequently. We found it in the diversion program. We're often helping that youth and that family find connections and find services, and we want to make sure that they're still benefiting from them. And so it's important to us that we don't just say, great, you graduated, we're done, we'll never talk to you again. But part of that process also is that we're checking to make sure that there's no recidivism, that they're not committing another crime, that something else is not happening. So we'll have those statistics as we've been around for a little bit longer. I can't tell you that right now. I can't tell you, we could. We track right now, I can tell you if any that graduated had. We have those statistics. I could get those to you if needed, or requested. But we'll have more, I think, more valuable data as we go on. And we look forward to seeing these youth, and we look forward to seeing where they go. Because their entry into interactions with law enforcement may not have been great, but we really want to build those relationships and help provide resources to anyone that we can. That's why we have what I said, that youth and family services. They don't have to catch a citation. It was important to us to say, great, we're doing diversion, but what about the kids that are having trouble, but they're not getting a citation that requires sealing? It's just as important to us to be able to try to provide services to the extent that we can to those youth and those families who are dealing with youth before they get to the point that we have officer involvement in a more strict enforcement way. So.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if more information like this goes out to the community, and maybe the parents can kind of push their kids to maybe get better. Okay.
I think that you're right. I think that we probably haven't done enough. We haven't done a really good job of kind of tooting our own horn on this. We've spent so much time building it. I can just say from my perspective, that was what was really critical, that this not be about trying to get attention and trying to get recognition for what we were doing. We really had to build this to the extent of what does our community need and what can we do to be part of this system. And there's absolutely a need to make sure that families are aware so that if something does happen, we reach out to them, because I think it's always, I don't know if surprising is the right word, when we contact a family and they're just so appreciative and shocked that we're calling to say, hey, is there something that we can do? We're trying to change that. We're trying to say that we're here to help. Yes, our officers have an enforcement responsibility, but that ultimately we're here to try to help the community and build relationships with the community at all levels.
That's great. Great. So, all righty, so,
Thank you.
and,
I think,
sure.
Real quick, Tanya, thank you again for your presentation. I've heard this before, and it's, again, always very inspiring to see what you guys are doing with youth. Could you give us, and not to be the downer, but you said that 12 of the cadets passed this particular round, but several did not. Could you give us an idea of why they wouldn't have passed, just roughly?
well, so there's a couple of different reasons. I mentioned earlier that we have to make sure that we have a good mix within our group. So there are some that did very well, but we have too many. For example, we don't want all 19-year-olds that are going to age out, or all 20-year-olds that have applied and they're going to age out in a year. We don't want all 14-year-olds that may stay with us forever and then lock up the program and nobody has an opportunity to join. So it's really important for us to mix that up. So I would say across the board, if I were to do assessment, we did a scoring process through that. And so what we did, to be honest with you, the first, like the males and females, kind of the highest score, they were clearly exceptional in all of the ways. And like I said, we assess everything from grades to why they want to do this, what their commitment is. But then we had a group in the middle that we just said, okay, now of these that are left, what fits, what works, who's someone that's inspiring we want to give an opportunity to talk to. So there isn't anyone that was overtly disqualified. At that point, it becomes about how do we build the best and strongest team that can support each other and work and grow together. So
That's awesome.
I do also want to say, we also tell everybody, please, we encourage you to apply again. We're happy to give you feedback. We're happy to do this. We encourage you when we open again. So we want to make sure that just because we say no this time, that we're really clear that it doesn't mean a no forever. And during the information sessions, I attended all of them, and I explicitly explained that to every single group, that there is no perfect candidate. At the end of the day, so much of it comes down to what fits and what we have the capacity. We don't want to have 36 boys, 36 girls. I mean, we have to mix that up to get the best experience for all of them.
Well, I'm glad you said it wasn't because of backgrounds or anything like that. I'm glad to see that there's a mix.
Yeah, we don't even do that. So the background doesn't even happen. So just so you understand, we go do the whole application process. We do a basic screening at the very beginning. Their background happens, they have to attend 3 meetings. They're mandatory to attend 3 meetings because we want the youth to see, is this what you really want to do? Come to 3 meetings, see what we do, see what you learn. And we do have some youth that say, you know, I went to 2 meetings and this isn't what I thought it is and I'm not interested anymore, and they drop out. That's good, we're fine with that. So they have to attend 3 meetings. If they're still committed at that 3 meetings, then we'll start their background process.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's kind of the final thing.
And one last question, and this is for both you and Martha. This is my first meeting with PCAC. And so as commissioners up on the dais here, is there any expectations of what we can do for you guys more, especially with Spot and some of the volunteers positions that are out there? Do you need us to support that?
So what I would say is we consider the PCAC to be our liaisons with the community. So and I realize you didn't get the email that we sent, our follow-up email in which we kind of said that's our greatest wish, is we know that not everybody attends, but we also know that more people watch it on TV. We want you to tell people about our meetings, come learn, tell people about what you learn at these meetings, to your neighbors, to your friends, to the groups that you participate in. Hey, did you know that the Salinas Police Department has a cadet program? Your kid might be interested, they can sign up for an interest list. So that's what we really value from you as our PCAC members, is doing that, being our liaison, not just outward of what we are communicating and sharing, but also inward. What are you hearing in the communities? What are the concerns? What are the things that you would like to see or your neighbors would like to see? So we really ask you to be that liaison for us. So please share this information. We're incredibly proud of what we've accomplished in just over 2 years.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
How long has Janine been with you?
July 31st of 2023. So she's
come
been
over from the
with 2.5
DA's
years. Huh?
She came over from the DA's office?
She did. She was a victim advocate for many years. So in my presentation a couple of years ago, I said I was very intentional in the hiring of the folks here to get folks who had kind of a social work, social services, youth program. So she was a victim advocate for 5 years and focused on the youth population.
Very
So,
lucky to have her sit on the
and
DA's
Luis
council.
similarly had a lot of youth experience, was getting his master's in social work and had pretty extensive experience with DV cases, with everything. So we had two pretty incredible finds.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you. All right.
Any public comments on this,
Thank you all.
on this item? None? Okay, we'll go, anybody on Zoom, Martha?
No comments via Zoom.
No Zoom? Okay, so we already discussed this issue. So now we go to the chief's report.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Kendall Gray. I'm with the police department, obviously, and I'm a commander there. I wanted to update you guys on a few different items that came up. And the first one is PCAC vacancy for District 5. A District 5 representative has been appointed and is currently going through the background process. Oh,
here.
all right. I can check that off the list.
Yeah.
Welcome.
You mean it didn't pass his background yet?
Okay.
There was two other items then that needed to be updated. There was a request for a representative of the SPOA to come talk here. The Salinas Police Officer Association is a nonprofit organization that represents our police officers. This is not, it's a private entity and it's not under the purview of the police department or the city. So if you would like more information on the SPOA, please reach out to the president, Chris Avila. And I have his phone number for you guys, 831-296-9902. The last thing is sharing of PCAC information. One thing that we want to continue improving on is getting PCAC information out to the community. As pointed out during comments, there's a lot of good information being shared at the PCAC meetings. As liaisons with the community, we ask the PCAC members to actively promote these meetings and share the information that's being discussed during these meetings. If community members are not able to attend, there's a couple other ways that they can get this information. All meetings are recorded on video on the Salinas channel. Community members may also subscribe on the city's website to receive text and email notifications for all city council and community agendas. PCAC meetings are posted on the city's community calendar, but to further promote PCAC meetings, the department has begun posting meeting announcements on social media. The social media post for this meeting has over 6,000 views already, so that's a good thing if we can promote these meetings more and encourage more discussion. So that's all I have. Yeah.
Okay. That's your report?
Thank you.
No comments?
No, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for your, yeah. Okay. Since we don't have no comments, nothing, we'll go to the next one, is committee members' reports.
I have no,
Oh, you just,
this is the first time, I have nothing to report. Sorry.
on my left, Shanice, any report?
Just reporting, and especially in my district, looking on the Ring app, the neighborhood portion of it, I just noticed there's a lot of car break-ins. So I don't know if maybe you could tell us if that has increased recently. That would be my only question.
So Unfortunately, committee member comments, we can't have a dialogue on because it's, because of the Brown Act, they're not agendized. So we do
I meant for,
write
like-
down. Yeah, so we'll write down. So anytime you have this, I will write it down and then we'll try to follow up. Often, I would just recommend that you have our map, and if you don't, we can have Martha resend it. Whoever is the commander of that area, you're always welcome outside of these meetings to contact that commander and ask any information.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Melinda?
The narcotic and DST activity, major operation. What does Operation Lockout mean? And
Can you turn on your mic, please?
Senior. Okay, yeah, so there's a narcotics and a VSTF activity. There was a major operation that resulted in the arrest of a large-scale drug trafficking in Chinatown with over 26 pounds of methamphetamine and 23 pounds of fentanyl out of Chinatown. That's on the website, the police reports, the log.
Okay, and
So Operation Log Off, does that mean?
so we cannot discuss that, we can
Yeah,
comment?
please, yeah.
Okay, so you would like to know more about that?
That's what, yeah. And the other thing I had asked before was a lot of the tagging that goes around, we'd like to know what those taggings mean. And hopefully, I mean, I know previously, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, they had that information and they came out and did presentations.
So requesting a presentation regarding the VSTF, the Violence Suppression Team?
Yeah,
Okay.
them and also the what does the tagging mean? You know, I hate for someone to tag my neighborhood when they don't even, who knows if they pay taxes or not? I heard they live in my neighborhood, all gangs, and they all work very well together, so.
Perfect, I will add it to the list. Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you.
Okay,
And that's all, thank you.
Okay, on my part, this is for information for all of us. Years back, when I was nominated to be on this committee, I said, what am I supposed to do here? You know, just sit down and listen, or, nope, listen to everything that's discussed here, and you take that to your district, okay? Get together with your city council person, so he'll be also informed, and start working in your district, okay? And then on the next meeting, you come back and bring in information. Okay? So that's more or less what we're supposed to be doing here, part of it anyway. What was the other one? Okay, yeah. You know, the other day, I'm all over, here and there, and I see a lot of things. I do make quite a bit of reports. And, but one that I almost had an accident, I almost ran over someone, and I don't know whether there's ordinance for that, or is it law, no law, whatever, but it was kind of dark, and there's kids on the bikes, they just get on, you know, just jump out on the street, and no lights, no helmet, and I don't know, but somebody told me that they're supposed to have a white light on front, either on the bike or the helmet, a red light on the back, and the pedals should be illuminated also. Now, if that isn't happening, are police department doing anything about that, or you don't touch that, or? That's a question that I would have for you. Okay, that's it? Okay, being that there's nothing else, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.